In 1891 Arizona, the Miller family lived a quiet, hard-working life on their lonely ranch, until a corrupt officer named Davy Rourke rode in and shattered their peace. He gave them a ruthless ultimatum: 15 days to surrender their daughter Eliza for marriage, or he would take her, and everything they owned, by force. As the desert sun burned and hope faded, the family prayed for a miracle. Watch till the end to see how Eliza was ready to sacrifice her own future to save her aging parents, and what destiny had planned for her instead. Tell me where you're watching from, partner. Join our Sleep West family, and now, let's dive deep into the story.
The year was 1891. The Arizona sun, a relentless brassy orb, beat down upon the dusty landscape where the Miller family had carved out their meager existence. Their ranch, a small, sturdy cabin hewn from local timber, was a solitary island in a sea of sagebrush and rock. For Samuel Miller, 60 years old, with hands like dried leather and a soul as honest as the day is long, this small holding and his few head of cattle were his kingdom, his legacy. His wife Marie, 55, was the quiet strength of the home, her face etched with the worry only a life on the frontier could bring, but her eyes still held the spark of fierce maternal love. And then there was Eliza, their 20-year-old daughter. She was a vision of prairie beauty, sun-kissed skin, eyes the color of the vast Arizona sky, and a spirit untamed by the harshness around her. But beauty in a lawless land was often a perilous gift. The peace of the Miller ranch was fractured by the arrival of Davy Rourke. Rourke was an appointed officer in a small nearby town, a man who wore his badge like a mantle of debauchery. He was a predator who had actively sought a post in this isolated territory, precisely because he knew he could operate without scrutiny. Rourke was notorious, a hunter of women, a collector of corrupt favors. The local folk, their lives held hostage by fear, knew better than to cross him. To speak out was to invite destruction. Davy Rourke did as he pleased. One sweltering afternoon, Samuel was hammering at a stretch of wobbly fence line, lost in the monotonous rhythm of his work, when the sharp, unwelcome sound of hooves broke the silence. Davy Rourke rode up, his black hat shading a face already shadowed with ill intent. "Miller," Rourke drawled, his voice oily and contemptuous. He didn't dismount, letting his horse loom over the old man. "Officer Rourke," Samuel replied, straightening slowly, his aged back protesting the movement. He met Rourke's gaze, a flicker of dread mixing with his natural defiance. "Let's dispense with the pleasantries, old man. I've seen your girl, Eliza. She's something to look at. I'll grant you that." He paused, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. "I want to marry your daughter." Samuel's blood ran cold. "She is not for sale, Rourke. She will marry a good, honest man when she chooses." Rourke let out a short, harsh laugh that sounded like stones grinding together. "Oh, you misunderstand, Miller. I wasn't asking your permission. I'm offering you a courtesy, a time frame." He leaned down in the saddle, his voice dropping to a menace that was chillingly clear. "I'll give you 15 days to think on it. If you say yes, I'll marry her. It'll be legal, neat, a bit of a ceremony. If you deny me, or if I come back and she's not here, I'll take her with me anyway. And I'll take a lot more from you besides." Rourke adjusted the pistol on his hip. "You know I have the post. You know no one around here can go above me or say a damn thing. Think nicely, Miller. Decide carefully." With a flick of his reins, he was gone, leaving a cloud of dust and a heavy, suffocating silence in his wake. Samuel stumbled back to the cabin, the light gone from his eyes. Marie and Eliza, hearing the intensity of the talk outside, rushed to meet him. He recounted the confrontation, his voice strained with disbelief and sorrow. "He gave us 15 days to choose between a cage and utter ruin," Samuel whispered, collapsing onto a worn wooden chair. Marie covered her mouth with a trembling hand, tears welling. "Oh, Sammy, not our little girl." Eliza, though terrified, felt a spark of iron resolve ignite within her. She was listening, and a memory, vivid and sudden, flashed into her mind. A month prior, she had been visiting her neighbor, Lily, a kindly woman living a few miles away. Eliza recalled Lily speaking with uncharacteristic pride. "My cousin brother John, he's done so well. He just got a new, very big post last month, a proper officer in California. So many others are under him now. I tell you, a good family man like John, he'll do some real good for folks. Eliza thought of the post. Lily's description, a high-ranking officer in California who oversaw many others, could only mean one thing in the structured hierarchy of the time. The vast lawless territories of the West were often overseen by high-level federal or territorial officials. Given the time and the geography, Lily's cousin John must be a head departmental marshal or a territorial departmental inspector, holding sway over local jurisdictions and the conduct of smaller town officers like Rourke. A faint, desperate hope, thin as thread, twisted itself around Eliza's fear. "I'm going to Lily's," she announced, her voice trembling but firm. "I have to." She rode hard to Lily's ranch. Pouring out the terrifying ordeal, she ended with a plea. "Lily, please. You said your cousin John is a high post officer in California. Please, I beg you, write him a letter. Tell him everything. Tell him about Rourke, about the fear, about the 15 days. He's the only hope we have left." Lily, pale and horrified, immediately embraced the girl. "Eliza, child, you don't worry about a thing. You go on home. I'll write that letter tonight. I'll tell John everything, word for word, and he will help you. I promise you that." Eliza returned to the cabin carrying the promise like a fragile bird in her hands. She shared the plan with her parents. Samuel and Marie looked at her, then at each other. They had lived too long under the heel of corrupt men to trust a distant officer, but they clung to the hope, however desperate. Days bled into one another. 10 had passed. The deadline loomed. Eliza rode back to Lily's. "Any word?" she asked, her voice hollow. Lily shook her head, a deep concern etched on her face. "Not yet, dear. The mail is slow out here, you know, but you don't worry, it should come soon." Eliza forced a smile and nodded, but inside a lifetime of cynicism about law and order in the territories crushed her hope. Every officer was the same, she thought bitterly. They protected their own. She had been a fool. Back at the cabin, she told her parents the grim truth. No reply. Marie wept. "We have to leave, Sammy. Pack the wagon. Take the few head of cattle we can drive. We have to go now." Samuel looked around at the land he had bled for. "Where would we go, Marie? We're old. This is our home, our legacy. My little cattle business, it took us 20 years to build this. To go to a new place with nothing, to start from scratch, we'd never make it." Eliza's gaze hardened, settling on her father. She stood tall, drawing strength from a place she didn't know she had. "No," she said, her voice clear and resolute. "We don't run. I won't let you lose everything. I will marry him. I'll go with him to save you both, and this house." "No," Marie cried out. "Never. We will not let that brute destroy your life to save our old days." "We'll see to this matter tomorrow, Eliza," Samuel said, his voice flat. "Let me think tonight." The stranger. The next day was the 13th day. Only 2 days remained. Samuel stood near his corral staring at his few cattle, his mind a battlefield. He felt utterly defeated, the weight of his years pressing down on him. Just as he was contemplating his broken life, a figure rode into view. A man, young, dressed in clothes that were dusty but of good quality, and carrying himself with a quiet confidence that was unusual in a drifter. "Sir," the stranger called out, pulling his horse to a halt. "I'm a stranger here. I have nowhere to go. I'm searching for work. Could you afford me shelter for just 2 days? I'll leave then, I promise." Samuel's exhaustion warred with his inherent kindness. He was a good man. He couldn't turn a man away to the open desert. "What's your name, son?" "Jack," the man replied, dismounting smoothly. "We are in trouble, Jack. We can afford you 2 nights, but no more. I need every penny for what's coming." "That's generous, sir." "I agree," Jack said, and tied his horse. The 15th day dawned, hot and silent, the air thick with tension. The millers waited, pale and grim, dressed in their best, prepared for the worst kind of wedding or a fatal showdown. Just after noon, Davy Rourke arrived, flanked by 2 deputies, all 3 heavily armed. "Well, Miller, did your little woman finally make the right choice for the family?" Rourke shouted, grinning cruelly. Samuel walked out, his shoulders set with a final desperate dignity. I will not let my daughter go with a cruel, debauched officer like you. Rourke, you will not destroy her life." The argument exploded. Rourke dismounted, fury contorting his face. "You stupid old fool. You think you have a choice? I told you I'll take her." Just then Jack, who had been resting in the small lean-to attached to the cabin, stepped out. He was casually wiping a cup, having heard every word. "I suggest you mount up and ride out, Rourke," Jack said, his voice dangerously calm. Rourke spun around, surprised. He looked the young man up and down with contempt. "Who the fool are you, to tell me what to do? Don't you dare come in between, drifter, or else I'll put a bullet in you first, before the old man." Jack dropped the cloth and took a step forward, his eyes locked on Rourke. He didn't raise his voice, but his command was absolute. "If you have the guts, Rourke, touch them. You want to see who the fool is? Do it, if you're such a hell of a man." Jack's attitude, the sheer, unblinking daring, was terrifying. Rourke hesitated. There was something in the stranger's eyes, a hardness and authority that didn't belong to a simple ranch hand. He was not used to being challenged, and the unexpected defiance threw him off balance. Rourke spat into the dust. "This isn't over, old man. I'll be back to destroy all your life and take Eliza with me, but I'll do it on my own time." He glared at Jack, memorizing his face. He quickly mounted his horse, and with his 2 men, rode off in a storm of dust. Samuel stared at Jack, convinced. "Why did you do that, son? Why did you risk your life?" Jack looked at the Millers, his expression softening. "I can't stand by and watch injustice, sir. And as for risk, don't worry about me. I don't have any risk of my life." He then told Samuel, "Now I want you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Every detail about Rourke and Lily's cousin. I have a friend who can help in this matter, and I need all the facts." Samuel, utterly convinced by the young man's daring, poured out the story of Rourke's corruption, Lily's cousin, and the despair of the last 15 days. Jack listened intently, nodding. "You don't have to worry anymore, Millers. I'll see to this matter." He stayed 2 more nights, and then, claiming he had found his job, he rode out, leaving the Millers with a strange, impossible sense of peace. Trittered justice from the west. For a week, the Millers waited, their nerves stretched taut. They heard nothing from Jack, nothing from Lily, nothing from Rourke. Samuel was beginning to fear the worst. Then, on a hot afternoon, the sound of multiple horses shook the dust. Rourke rode into the clearing, flanked this time by 2 massive men in heavy black coats. Rourke was wearing a sheriff's coat, a rank he must have secured through his political connections. A final, undeniable show of force. "Now, Miller," Rourke screamed, drawing a heavy pistol. "I told you I'd be back. You want to play games? I'm sheriff now. You're all under arrest for obstructing an officer of the law." He pointed to his men. "Take the girl, and burn this damn cabin to the ground. Send a message to every snake in this territory." Just as the 2 men lunged towards Eliza, a voice cut through the air, sharp as a whip crack. "Rourke, you are under arrest." Riding into the clearing from the west was Jack, but this was not the dusty drifter. He was mounted on a magnificent stallion, and he wore a tailored suit and a crisp, wide-brimmed Stetson hat that bore the distinctive star of a high-ranking departmental officer. Rourke froze, staring. Who are you?" Jack dismounted, his bearing radiating an authority that dwarfed Rourke's borrowed badge. He spoke with a quiet steel that promised the end of Rourke's reign. "I am John Carter, head of the California Departmental Marshal's office." Rourke's face turned the color of ash. A head departmental marshal had jurisdiction over local territorial lawmen. He was Lily's cousin. 4 more well-armed officers, clearly federal marshals, rode in immediately and surrounded Rourke and his 2 terrified accomplices. "Officer Rourke, Jack." "No, Marshal Carter," continued, pulling a folded paper from his inner coat pocket. "I have here a warrant, based on irrefutable testimony and collected evidence, charging you with multiple counts of corruption, abuse of office, and intimidation. My team has spent the last week quietly compiling the accounts of your many victims in the local community." Rourke, trembling, was disarmed and quickly clapped in irons. As the marshals led the defeated, sputtering Rourke away, the Millers rushed to Jack. Eliza, her heart pounding, could only stammer, Who are you? You came as a stranger." Jack smiled, a genuine warm smile that lit up his face. He took off his formal marshal's hat and bowed slightly. "I am the one for whom you wrote that desperate letter to my cousin Lily, Eliza. Not all officers are corrupt, I promise you. Some of us still believe in justice, even out here in the dust." Samuel gripped the marshal's hand, tears streaming down his face. "We thank you, sir. You saved our lives, our home, our daughter's honor." Marie, simply, embraced him like a son. "God bless you, Jack." Rourke, the new Sunrise Justice, had arrived on the heels of a lie, disguised as a desperate man looking for work. Marshal Carter stayed for a day, ensuring the Millers were safe, and that the local township was aware of Rourke's removal. He had executed his duty with efficiency and perfect timing. As he prepared to ride out to return to his post, Eliza walked up to him, a new confident light in her eyes. "Marshal Carter," she began, her voice soft, "you risked a great deal by coming in alone, without your rank, just to watch over us. Why?" He turned to face her, the relentless Arizona sun highlighting the fine lines around his kind eyes. "I came here because a good woman, Lily, wrote to me about a young lady who was brave enough to stand up for her family," he said honestly. "And when I arrived I saw a family of honor, and a girl of fire. I couldn't leave you unprotected, Eliza. My badge is important, but a man's character is more so." Eliza looked at the strong, principled man, who had literally saved her world. She was no longer afraid. "The West is a wild place, Marshal," she said, her voice a promise. "It needs a few more honest men in it." He smiled, a genuine disarming light. "Perhaps it needs a few more strong women too." He mounted his horse, settling his star-emblazoned hat firmly on his head. "My work is in California, Eliza, but I find myself quite fond of the Arizona territory now." "I suppose you'll be quite busy," she replied, a shy smile touching her lips. "I will be, but a marshal is always in need of a good place to rest, away from the dust and the politics." He paused, his gaze meeting hers, holding all the unspoken hope in the new silence. "I will be back, Eliza." She nodded, the warmth of the Arizona sun suddenly feeling like a hopeful caress. "We'll be here, Marshal." He tipped his hat, turned his horse, and rode out, leaving behind a family saved, a future restored, and the beautiful, dust-laden promise of love blooming like a desert flower.